So thank you all for being here today on Father's Day. So this Sunday, we're observing Father's Day and also how people may view this day. Father's Day offers us a chance to recognize the role that dads and fatherhood have played in our lives. So one of the definitions I found about fatherhood is, quote, when a man takes responsibility for his household and loves his children by providing for them, caring for them, and teaching them to be a law-abiding and responsible adult, end quote. We may think this is a pretty basic definition, and maybe there's more to being a father. You know, we really don't make nearly as big a deal about Father's Day as we do about Mother's Day. So I ask, why don't fathers make a big deal about Father's Day? Is it because dads don't care about that sort of stuff? I think it goes deeper than that. Deeper than a lack of sentimentality on the part of the fathers. Now, what if people came up to you and said, happy graduation? Well, wouldn't we probably get some strange looks if we did that, especially if they weren't completing any school? But as the third Sunday in June rolls around, we can fall into that trap of wishing every person we meet a happy Father's Day without a second thought. Our hearts are in the right place, but we may be unintentionally insulting or hurtful. Father's Day is a wonderful time to celebrate and share gratitude with the men who have helped us become who we are, while also being difficult. Time for some people that we need to feel more compassion to. How do we best support a loved one or a friend who may not be looking forward to Father's Day? Several experts in the area of loss, infertility, and family dynamics suggest these 3 steps to help us be more thoughtful about how we address people on Father's Day. So number 1 is, don't give in to the impulse of saying Happy Father's Day automatically to everyone you meet. Number 2, before using this greeting, pause and consider what this person has experienced. What feelings might the day bring up for them? And 3, find different ways to acknowledge the occasion. Think about your loved one's particular needs for the day and to be part of creating meaning for them. Did you ever think it would be awkward to be on the receiving end of that sentiment of Happy Father's Day when you don't want children? Or if you don't have them for whatever reason? Perhaps you know a man who wants a family, but his plans are on hold due to their relationship status, fertility challenges, or not being on the same page as their partner. Many dads are not able to spend as much time with their children these days because of divorce or an end of a romantic relationship. Fathers who have a seriously ill child or have lost a child to miscarriage or whose child died may always have a part in their hearts reserved for that loss. It can also be hard for people whose own fathers are sick or have age-related memory issues. Others may have a father who abused or abandoned their family and understandably don't wish to celebrate him. And if they have lost a father, whether recently or years ago, Father's Day can remind them of his absence in a painful way. So on a brighter note, I'd like to take a closer look at the relationship we've had, or maybe not had, with our fathers by telling my story. My father died a few years ago, but I still remember many childhood and adult experiences with him. One of my favorites took place on Christmas Eve. After dinner, my mother would announce she ran out of bread and ask my father to go to the store. Unbeknownst to me, this was a sham, an excuse for my father to seem as if he left the house. He would actually quietly go upstairs to my grandfather's apartment, where he put on a red outfit, a white long hair beard, and a white long hair wig. He was covered head to toe with this Santa costume, down to a pair of gloves to cover his hands and big black boots. In the full-on Santa suit, he would go out the back door quietly with a huge bag of wrapped gifts. Then he walked around to the front of the house and rang the doorbell and saying in a deep voice, "Ho, ho, ho." Every year, I believed this was the real Santa. I did, until one Christmas Eve, when I was about 5 years old. Santa was sitting in his usual chair, calling out my older brother's name and my sister's name and my name. One at a time, we'd go up there and get our gifts, until his huge bag was empty. Well, this year, when my name was called, I walked up to Santa to get my gift. Then I noticed on Santa's rosy cheek, near his ear, right around here, there was about 1/4 inch of elastic showing from his fake beard. I was a pretty observant child. That was the moment it dawned on me. I realized this is not Santa. I think it's Dad in a Santa suit. I was about to call this out, because I didn't know if anybody else knew that. And I was ready to say, this isn't the real Santa. When another thought entered my mind. If I call him out, Santa might not come back next year, and I might not get gifts. So I'll keep it quiet and play along. I'm glad you enjoyed that story. So I thought, growing up, all fathers dressed like Santa for their children on Christmas Eve and gave them gifts. Only to find out that as I grew older, hardly anyone's father did the Santa routine. This made me really appreciate my father and what he did on Christmas Eve, and the love he had for his children to do this every year. His love was not shown in words, but in actions. As children, we don't always think that our parents were young ones, and they had to figure out their lives as we have to figure out our lives. And they had to handle things that were thrown to them in life, unexpected things. As a teenager, I found out more about my dad's life when he was younger. My father, a United States citizen, was a young man living in Poland before World War II. Then, as we know, Germany invaded Poland in 1939. My father was left alone for a while and continued working until the US got into the war in 1941. Eventually, he was picked up by the Gestapo. For 3 days, he was interrogated, beaten, and not given any food. Then when the Gestapo was done with him, they sent him to a prisoner of war camp. Although my father did not talk about this time in his life, I wondered how this horrible experience affected him. Could he really just have put it behind him? My father passed away a few years ago. He suffered from Alzheimer's for about 15 years, which I hear is longer than the usual time period for this disease. So one day I was talking to an energy healer, and they told me that Alzheimer's disease comes to people who do not effectively process their emotions. My father was of that generation where they did not seek psychological help because there was, quote, nothing wrong with them. So when it comes to being a father, some dads do it better than others, and some don't do it very well at all. When we are children, we do not realize what our fathers went through in their life. This might be why a father's love is imperfect and a little rough around the edges sometimes. Here's another story about a father treating a stranger like a son. And this was told to me by a friend many years ago. And when she was young, their family used to go on driving vacations throughout the US each summer. Her father didn't believe in excessive planning, so each summer they took off on a spontaneous family vacation that didn't always go smoothly. There were lots of late night panics finding motels, stops to ask for directions, and elevated tempers. And you know, back then, they didn't have cell phones or Google Maps. So one day, the father picked up a teenage hitchhiker somewhere in the Midwest when they were on vacation. They had fun singing songs together on the radio. Then her dad stopped at an ice cream stand and bought ice cream for everyone, even the hitchhiker. Just before the hitchhiker was dropped off, he told my friend he would give his life to have a father like hers. She thought about what that hitchhiker said and came back to the conclusion that we really never know how good we have it until someone points it out to us. When we were young, we might have thought our father's behavior to be embarrassing or old-fashioned. To another person, it may seem charming and endearing. So how would you describe your father? I'm going to ask you a few questions about your father or your father figure in your life. Hopefully this brings up some memories. Was he soft and gentle or harsh and demanding? Was he there for you when you needed him? Or was he always on the go and away from home a lot of the time? Was he affectionate and demonstrative, or did he keep his distance? Was he emotionally transparent and easy to read? Or was he stoic and reserved, keeping his feelings to himself? Was he an outdoorsman or a homebody? Did he read to you when you were little and play with you as you were growing up? Did he teach you to do things? What sort of everyday skills did you learn from your father? Was he a good listener? Could you share your thoughts and feelings with him without getting a lecture in return? Was he quick to discipline and keep you in line? Or did he give you the freedom to explore and make your own decisions or your own mistakes? Was your father someone you wanted to be like when you grew up? Was your father the type of person you hoped to marry someday? What did you love most about your father? And if you had the chance, what words of gratitude and affirmation would you most like to share with him today? So I want to invite whoever feels moved to raise their hand and feel free to stand to say a few words of gratitude and affirmation of your own father, whether he's here in the spirit world or here on this physical world, on this Father's Day. So I'll start off. I'm going to say to my loving Father, who's in the spirit world, I'm forever grateful for everything that you have done for our family. I love you, Tata. Would anyone else like to share a tribute to their father today? Mary.
I'd like to thank my father, Ed Trophy, for teaching me how to ride my bike, which, as you see, is still a huge part of my life every day. I still remember when, I don't know, I guess I was maybe about 6 or something like that, and I was on a two-wheeler, and he was balancing me from behind, you know, kind of holding the back of the bike, or maybe my back, and we were talking. And I just kept talking, and soon I realized, oh, he's not there anymore. So I was able to balance on my own. So, you know, I'm just so grateful because this is a gigantic part of my life. Thanks, Daddy.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, of course.
I'd like to thank my dad, Angel. He was the most funniest dad, but he was very afraid of my mom. And anytime we needed to ask my father something or to play, you know, with us about doing something to our mom, he would always say, no, no, no. But more important, I think whenever we wanted to ask, to go out or sneak out of the house and ask him, he would always say, oh, no, 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 go ask your mother. So I wanna say, Daddy, I miss that, the jovial person that you were, and thank you for being a good dad, to all four of us.
Oh, thank you, as well. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my dad for bringing my family from Mexico. He was poor, he had no education, no money. He came to the United States in the 60s, endured discrimination, hardships, but he raised us in a good place. So I thank him for that and for supporting me in terms of pursuing education and for being an ambitious person and for being a role model in that way. That's it. Thanks, Dad.
Thank you for sharing. Would you like to, please? Yes.
Sure, I did be here in spirit. I appreciate you following me around. But you know, it's at that one time, my dad was a little bit distant. You know, he's still that generation to some degree. You know, World War II generation. But there was that one time he kind of grabbed me. It's like grabbed me from behind, told me how I was his favorite. I'm not going to say that. Of three, you know, we had 3 children, and told me how I was like a nice, quiet baby. You know, and just perfect looking, you know, to him, you know, when I was born. So thanks, Dad, for that one moment when you finally got affectionate with me. After all, you know, I mean, okay.
Thank you, that was lovely. Yes, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
I lost my father due to violence in my country when I was very little. And later on, I got a stepfather. And throughout the time that we spent, I kept on thanking God because I think he was even better than my own father because he was so loving, so caring. And throughout my life, he gave me so much. I had other stepbrothers and sisters. I was the oldest, but he was unique. And although he didn't live a long life, he made a big difference in my life. Thank you, Dad.
It's lovely, thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you everyone that shared, and that's your strength in being able to talk about your fathers, so thank you. And those fathers that went on in spirit, I'm sure they heard your sentiments when you talked about that. Or even your thoughts, if you didn't get a chance to say anything, your thoughts about your deceased father or father figure. So now it's time for announcements. Change the energy.